Chrisean Rock is about to send Blueface back to prison.
Did Chrisean Rock really get Blueface arrested, or is the internet jumping the gun again? A new clip just dropped and it's tearing through timelines, but stick with me, because the real story runs deeper than any headline. What started as Blueface trying to reconnect with Chrisean Rock has spiraled into something bigger. A question about decisions, consequences, and whether old relationships pull people back into old patterns, even after everybody swore they were done. Is this about one person bringing another down, or two people who've never let go, caught inside a system that doesn't leave room for second chances? Let's get into it. Yo, what's good, fam? Let me keep it 100. There's a lot of noise online right now, clips getting clipped, captions added, comment sections running wild. My job isn't to hand you a verdict, it's to walk you through the confirmed facts and the public reaction where things blur, so you can form your own opinion. Because with Blueface and Chrisean Rock, the story has never been simple. To understand why people react this hard every time these two land in the same headline, you need the full arc, because this isn't some random pairing fans manufactured. This is one of the most chronicled, chaotic relationships in modern hip-hop and reality TV culture, and it hits different because these two never tried to hide anything. Blueface was already a known name in rap by the time Chrisean Rock entered the picture, known for a melodic, offbeat flow critics argued over constantly, and a loud, blunt, unpredictable personality that made him one of rap's more polarizing figures. Someone who never shied from controversy and almost seemed to court it. Chrisean Rock arrived just as raw and unfiltered. She never softened herself for cameras, and that authenticity, however messy, is exactly what made people lock in. Fans either rocked with her or couldn't stand her, but either way, they couldn't stop watching the exact energy that made her a perfect, chaotic match for someone as headline-hungry as Blueface. The moment the two were seen together, the internet clocked it instantly. Social media, comment sections, paparazzi accounts all lit up within days. Are they together? Turned into a full-blown public spectacle almost overnight, because both of them seemed to invite the attention rather than dodge it. Where most celebrity couples guard their privacy, Blueface and Chrisean Rock did the opposite. They leaned all the way in, posting together, addressing rumors head-on, giving fans a front-row seat to every twist almost from day one. Nothing about this relationship stayed behind closed doors. The arguments were public. The breakups were public. The makeups were public. Fans watched moments unfold in real time that in most relationships would have stayed strictly private accusations thrown out on live streams. Declarations of love minutes after declarations of "I'm done," sometimes within the same 24 hours. That constant exposure turned casual onlookers into deeply invested fans almost overnight. People weren't just watching a couple anymore, they were watching a storyline with cliffhangers, plot twists, and real emotional stakes, except none of it was scripted. Then came the reality TV deal, and the spotlight only intensified. Every disagreement, every reconciliation, every "we're having a baby" moment, and every "we're done for good" moment became packaged content for an audience that had already spent years following the unscripted version. That's where things get complicated. Once a relationship becomes a business asset generating views and revenue, it's hard to tell where the real conflict ends and the performance begins. Fans still debate it constantly. Were the blow-ups real or deliberately amplified, since conflict drives engagement, and engagement drives revenue for everyone involved, the network, the platforms, Blueface and Chrisean Rock themselves? That blend of entertainment, business, and genuine conflict became one of the defining traits of their relationship, and it's exactly why people still can't look away whenever a new clip drops. Plenty of those moments became reference points in internet culture, public arguments turning into trending topics within hours, accusations contradicting what either of them said days earlier, and custody battles playing out under a level of scrutiny most parents never face, with strangers online dissecting who's the better parent. Every chapter added another layer. Every breakup felt less like an ending and more like a pause before the next one. That's exactly why longtime fans don't react with shock anymore when new headlines surface, just exhausted familiarity, like a show they've already predicted but somehow can't stop watching. It's become its own genre at this point. The never-ending Blueface and Chrisean Rock cycle breakup. Reconciliation, controversy, repeat each round, pulling in a different mix of sympathy, judgment, and pure entertainment. Now let's shift to the legal side, because understand why any new headline about Blueface's legal status hits this hard. You need to know this isn't his first run-in with the justice system. His personal life and legal life have crossed paths before. Over the years, Blueface has faced various publicized legal issues, from altercations to weapons-related charges to other incidents that made entertainment headlines. Depending on the case, those situations came with probation terms, court appearances, and conditions he was expected to follow. Probation isn't just a slap on the wrist. It's a binding legal arrangement with real enforceable conditions, regular check-ins with an officer, restrictions on certain behaviors, sometimes on travel, sometimes on contact with specific people depending on the underlying case. Violating those terms, whether it looks serious or minor on the surface, can bring consequences far harsher than the original charge ever was, including the very real possibility of the original sentence being reinstated in full. That's why probation status follows someone like a shadow, especially someone already living under this much public attention. So when probation violation gets attached to a celebrity with a track record like his, the reaction is almost automatic. People assume the worst, assume a pattern, and connect it straight to "here we go again." Whether that's fair to him as an individual is a separate conversation, but it's exactly why any new legal headline involving Blueface spreads so fast across social media and entertainment blogs, even before the details are confirmed through official channels. Now here's where it gets interesting, because this is where Chrisean Rock's name re-enters the picture, and where we need to talk plainly about why Blueface appeared to keep trying to see her, despite everything that's already happened publicly between them. According to what's circulating, Blueface had been making efforts to reconnect, reaching out, showing up in spaces she was in, attempting renewed contact, depending on which version of the timeline you're hearing. The moment that reconnection became public knowledge, people asked the obvious question: why would he go back, knowing everything that's already happened between them? Because everything here means a lot, fam. Their relationship has been defined by a documented pattern of problems far beyond average celebrity drama, repeated public breakups, sometimes multiple times within a single year. Infidelity accusations thrown from both sides, each version getting its own round of scrutiny. Physical altercations that made national headlines, with footage circulating widely enough that even non-fans had heard about it. Screaming matches caught on live stream, sometimes with their child audibly present, intensifying public concern. Custody disagreements playing out across social media instead of staying private in family court. And financial disputes spilling into public view, both of them airing grievances about money and responsibility in real time. This wasn't a couple working through one rough patch privately. From the outside, their entire relationship read like one unresolved conflict stacked on another, with just enough reconciliation sprinkled in to let fans exhale before the next blow-up. That's the backdrop fans are working with every time a new chapter surfaces, and exactly why people react with disbelief. Not surprised whenever Blueface tries to reconnect with her again, no matter how the attempt is framed. So why would he keep going back given all of that? A few explanations have circulated across commentary, podcasts, and reaction content. Let's walk through them plainly. First, the co-parenting reality, probably the most concrete, least speculative explanation. They share a child, and that alone creates a permanent reason for contact that has nothing to do with romance and everything to do with parental obligation. Custody, holidays, medical and school decisions, day-to-day logistics, none of that disappears just because the romance ended, no matter how badly. Second, the public image angle, impossible to ignore given how famous they both are. When a relationship has been this documented, this deeply embedded in both their public personas, stepping away from it isn't just personal, it becomes public too. Every move gets read by an audience trained to interpret each interaction as part of the ongoing story. That attention creates a strange gravitational pull, where even genuine attempts to move on get framed as another cycle, making it harder for either of them to fully separate from the narrative. Third, and the most human of the three, the simple emotional pull that exists in any relationship with this much shared history and chaos survive together. People who've lived through intense public relationships often describe a magnetic, unfinished business, a pullback toward the one person who understands the full weight of what they went through. That doesn't make it healthy, and it doesn't make it right. But it explains, on a basic human level, why two people who've hurt each other publicly and repeatedly might still reach back toward one another, even after swearing it was over. To be clear, these are explanations people have offered from the outside, not confirmed statements from Blueface himself. Nobody outside the two of them knows what was actually going through his head, and I'm not going to pretend I do either. But these are the reasons that keep resurfacing every time this topic comes back up, laid out plainly, instead of buried in vague language. Interpretation is not fact. Now, let's talk about the clip itself, because this time, there's more than just reaction and body language. In it, Chrisean Rock is heard saying Blueface had booked a late-night trip to Baltimore, referencing a text exchange about it directly. She says she hadn't aired this publicly before because she was trying to protect him, pointing out he's on probation, and traveling without permission could put him at legal risk. She brings up their child in the same breath, saying he left the baby with his dad without telling her first, and that she'd already put her foot down about it the night before. At one point, she references a text labeled 3, clarifying on camera it was meant for a camera operator on set, not for Blueface almost preemptively correcting a misread before anyone could make it. Then come the receipts, part of why this clip spread the way it did. Chrisean Rock holds up her phone, showing what looks like a flight confirmation from LA to Baltimore, with a text thread underneath. On screen, a message reads that he was simply letting her know whether to cancel, adding she always gets weird after he spends his own money, calling the whole thing annoying. Her reply, visible right there in the thread, pushes back hard. She says he's the one who's been weird, that he's got a lot of hate, and it's been directed at her specifically, not the other way around. What it shows, a flight to Baltimore was booked, and there was a real text disagreement about money and tone, documented in writing. What it doesn't show, independent confirmation of his actual probation terms, whether that Baltimore trip violated them, or any official legal determination from a court or probation officer. Booking a flight and trading tense texts is one thing. Whether it legally counts as a probation violation is a separate question entirely, one that depends on conditions a flight screenshot simply can't settle. Still, no matter how dramatic this moment feels, it fits the same recognizable pattern that's defined their relationship for years. Private disagreements aired publicly, pulling in real stakes like custody, and now potentially his legal standing. Their reality TV era already showed audiences how much of their conflict played out on camera: custody fights, financial disputes, personal insecurities laid bare for millions. So a moment like this doesn't feel out of place. It feels like the latest entry in a relationship that's never managed to keep conflict behind closed doors, no matter how many times either of them claimed they wanted privacy. That raises a bigger question. Has their level of fame and the constant audience watching their every move made it harder for either of them to ever fully separate? Every attempt to move forward, step back, or simply coexist for their child's sake has played out in front of millions, reacting in real-time pressure that makes it brutally hard to find the space most people need to work through complicated relationship dynamics, whether that means healing or finally letting go. So when people ask why this keeps happening specifically with these two, the answer isn't just about individual choices. It's about a dynamic that keeps turning private disagreements into public flashpoints almost automatically. Whether it's a custody fight, a money dispute, or now a flight to Baltimore, none of that excuses poor decisions if they were genuinely made, and it doesn't erase accountability for either side. But it does explain why this relationship has been so hard for both of them to fully let go of, even when staying connected keeps causing more problems than it solves. Their custody situation specifically keeps resurfacing as a flashpoint. Co-parenting is hard enough without fame add constant public observation, where any disagreement about childcare can become a headline within hours, and you get a recipe for exactly this kind of spiral. Stack that on years of breakups, public arguments, and deep trust issues, and it's easy to see how even something as routine as leaving a child with a grandparent for an evening exploded into a full-blown public dispute. Now let's bring this back to the legal situation. because that's where this whole conversation started. If reports about Blueface facing renewed legal scrutiny turn out to be accurate, the consequences could be serious additional court appearances, possibly even reinstatement of his original sentencing terms, depending on the exact conditions of his probation. That's a serious matter regardless of what role, if any, his personal relationships played in triggering it. Probation conditions exist for specific legal reasons, and violating them, intentional or not, carries real weight in court, completely separate from whatever narrative gets built online. But here's the distinction that matters most in this entire breakdown. There's a difference between a legal situation existing alongside a renewed connection to Chrisean Rock, and a legal situation being directly caused by her. The public has rushed to draw a straight line between the two, partly because their dramatic history makes that story emotionally satisfying, and partly because blame spreads faster online than nuance ever does. But until there's confirmed information establishing exactly what happened and why, that straight line stays speculation, not fact, no matter how convinced the comments seem. So let's bring this home. The real question underneath all of this isn't simply, did Chrisean Rock get Blueface arrested? It's whether this entire situation is about one person causing another's downfall, or whether both of them got caught in a cycle that keeps turning private decisions into public headlines year after year, almost regardless of intent. Step back and look at the full picture. Years of public conflict since day one, an endless breakup reconciliation cycle, legal pressure that existed independent of this relationship long before this news broke, and co-parenting ties that mean their lives will intersect for years no matter what. It starts to look less like one person bringing down another, and more like two people stuck in a pattern their own choices and the relentless public spotlight have made nearly impossible to escape. That doesn't erase accountability. If laws were broken, if probation terms were violated, those are real legal consequences, completely separate from any relationship drama layered on top. But it does mean we should all be careful how fast we assign blame in situations we're only seeing in fragments, clips, screenshots, second-hand reporting. The full truth is rarely as simple as a clickbait headline or a comment section full of people who've never met either of them. So I'll leave you with the same question I opened with. Did Chrisean Rock really get Blueface arrested for violating his probation? Based on what's confirmed so far, that's still an open question, more theory than fact. What's not a theory is the pattern these two have lived through for years. Public love, public conflict, public consequences playing out in front of an audience that can't look away, myself included, because here we are, talking about it again. So now I want to hear it from you. Is this really one person dragging the other down? Or are they both trapped in something bigger than either of them can control? Drop your take in the comments, pick your side, and if this kind of breakdown is your thing, the next one's already waiting on your screen.